Alright, first thing, hi, this is Mrs. Clark. Hi, this is Mrs. Clark, and we're going to be putting a couple pages into our notebook. So we're starting our statistics unit. So this is our divider for our notebook for where our statistics unit will start. So when you get this, what you're going to want to do is trim around the outside of this, and then keep this little tab here so that it can stick out off the side of your page. So I'm going to cut it out and then show you what it looks like. Alright, so here's what your finished product should look like. You're going to glue this in on the next open page after the last page we did at the end of Unit 1. If it's on the right side of your page, then you will glue it in like this. If it's on the left side of the page, you can flip it over and glue it in like that. Either way, this little tab should be sticking off the outside of your notebook. So that's going to go in first, and then you're going to get this page, which is an introduction to statistics vocabulary, and we're going to cut this in half. So it's going to get cut right up in the middle, like this. It's going to take up 2 pages in your notebook. So this intro to statistics will go first, where we'll talk about statistical and non-statistical questions, and then this data, categorical, numerical, and variability page will go in second. So we're going to fill these out together, and then we're going to put them into our notebooks, and we're going to go over some of this vocabulary just because a little bit of it is new and some of it is something you've seen before but maybe need a little refresher. So we talked at the beginning of lesson 1 about our goal being to be able to determine what a statistical question is, and so here's where we've gotten most of the definition for us, and we're going to write some examples. A statistical question is a question that can only be answered by using data and where we expect the data to have variability. So what that means is we expect that not everyone is going to say the exact same thing. Now, depending on what type of question it is, might depend on whether people have the same preference or whether people have the same information that's true about them, but not everybody will have the same answer. It's very unlikely that that would happen. So we're looking for questions where we just don't know the answer off the top of our head. We actually need to collect data from people in order to answer it. So some examples of questions like that might be, who is the most popular musical artist in our school? Or according to our school. Who is the most popular musical artist according to our school? Question mark. So we wouldn't know the answer to that. We would know what we think most of our friends like or what we like, but we wouldn't really know what our whole school feels is the most popular musical artist unless we went around and did a survey. So that's what makes this a statistical question. Another example might be, when do students in your class typically eat dinner? When do students in your class typically eat dinner? Now, I have no idea, question mark, when students typically eat dinner. I know when I eat dinner. I might be able to ask other students when they eat dinner, and then from all of that information that I gather, I'd be able to figure out when students in my class typically eat dinner. So that's another type of statistical question, or another example of a statistical question. Another one might be, which classroom in your school has the most books? Which classroom in your school has the most books? Now, you might have an idea of who has a lot of books in their room, but you don't know who has the most books unless we get information from them about how many books they have. So we could collect data from every teacher or every classroom about the number of books in their classroom, and then from there we could determine which classroom in our school has the most books. So all 3 of these examples require us to collect data in order to answer them, And we expect that not everybody is going to say the same thing. So not every classroom will have the same number of books. Not every student will eat at the same time. Not every student will enjoy the same musical artist. So that's what we mean when we say we expect the data to have variability. Now, a non-statistical question is a question which can be answered by a specific measurement or procedure where no variability is anticipated. Which means we expect everyone's going to give the same answer. So a question like that might be something like, how tall is the Empire State Building? Empire State Building. Now, we expect that there's a height for however tall this building is, and that's not going to change. So somebody could take a specific measurement, use their procedure to measure it, but everyone should come out with the same answer. There's no variability in that question, in the answer to that question, because there is just one height for the Empire State Building. Alright, so on the second page now we're going to talk about different types of data. So first we have categorical data, which are data where values are categories, or words, if you want to describe it that way. I put that in parentheses. So for example, if I'm thinking about dogs, it wouldn't be anything about the dogs that has to do with numbers, it would be something that has to do with categories. So I may look at the breeds of 10 different dogs. So the breeds of 10 different dogs would be categorical data. Breeds would be things like Cocker Spaniel, Golden Retriever, Labrador. All those things are considered breeds, and those are categories. So that would make categorical data. So 10 different dogs, if you listed out their breeds. Another example could be the colors of 100 different flowers. So if you're listing out the colors are categories or words, so that would be categorical data. For numerical data, that's also called measurement or quantitative data. They're data where the values are numbers. You can almost see the word number in the word numerical. The values, the data values are going to be numbers, measurements, or quantities. So if we're talking about those same dogs again, this time instead of their breeds, we might look at something like their weights, where we would look at something that is numbers. The weights of 10 different dogs. So something where you're collecting data that is numbers, is numerical data. And I threw variability on here because we mentioned it earlier, and just so that it's here for us to reference when you see the definition of statistical and non-statistical, because it talks about variability. Variability is the lack of consistency or a fixed pattern. So consistency means the same, the lack of things being the same, or some kind of pattern that we're seeing. And the liability to vary or change. So that means it has the ability to accept multiple different types of answers for the question, but it doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to give a different answer. It just means that people could be giving a different answer. They could vary or change from person to person. So for example, if data has variability, the answers are a variety of numbers. If it's numerical data, or they might be a variety of categorical values. Alright, so get those 2 pages glued into your notebook. We're going to use these terms as we talk more about data, the different types of data we collect, and the different types of questions that we ask. And you're going to be asked to identify and come up with examples of numerical data or categorical data or statistical questions or non-statistical questions. So you'll want to reference these whenever being asked about those types of vocabulary terms. Thank you for watching.